Keep your customers informed with a powerful, localized website. To succeed in international markets, you'll need to adapt your e-commerce website for an international audience, a process called localization. Localization is an activity of making something more relevant to people of a certain country or region. It may require you to rethink your website's content and language, and even the design, the colors, the presentation, the functionality. Localization can quickly become overwhelming. But, as Desmond Tutu said, there's only one way to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Granted, he was probably talking about something a little more lofty than selling products online overseas, but it applies here too. So, let's start the process by making a clear and incremental plan. First, research the market. Second, decide what needs to be localized. Remember, incremental is the word of the day. It allows you to adjust based on customer feedback. Finally, begin incrementally adapting and translating your website. Research the market. This is what I call your open arms setup. You don't want to just show up in a new country, you want to be welcomed with open arms. Inversely, you want the same for your online customers. That means when you're coming up with your localization plan, take your target region's culture into account. Sounds simple, but you'd be surprised how many well-known brands with unlimited resources still get it wrong. So make sure to examine everything that could affect your website and how it's received and understood by customers overseas. Sure, you have to weigh in the value of staying true to your brand while also localizing the message to take into account the culture and the historic lens that your audience will be looking at your website through. Now, look for 1, habits and preferences, 2, visual presentation, 3, sizing and measurement adaptation, and 4, data privacy policies. Habits and preferences. Purchasing habits and preferences can vary greatly from country to country. Here are the generalizations that are just that, generalizations, right? Germany. Consumers evaluate products often based on specifications and warranty, where in Mexico, a consumer might connect more to the emotional story behind your brand. In the UK, a consumer might need to see the product and how it interacts with their daily life. Visual presentation. Assess what customers will see on your website. This could be infographics, colors, and images. Run it by people living currently in the market, not just your cousin's friend at college, Xiao Fei, who moved here a few years ago and has a lagging understanding of what's happening. In this fast-paced world of digital drama, you need to know what visuals are trending and which ones will place you clearly in the passé category. A few examples to chew on. In China, you'll find a lot more content and colors on a page that may make the layout seem a little more cluttered and chaotic, and perhaps more than we're used to seeing. In some European cultures, green is often representative of luck and signifies environmental awareness, health, and nature, same as in North America. But in certain parts of China, for example, a man wearing a green hat can evoke suspicion that his wife might be cheating on him. So if you happen to have a photo of a man wearing a green hat on a China-based website, either you're selling relationship solutions and maybe matchmaking, or you might want to swap that out. Another example, animals hold different positions in different cultures. If you want to evoke a sense of wisdom by using an owl on your site, bear in mind, your Indian consumers think owls are idiots. They obviously haven't seen the Tootsie Roll commercial, because how many owls know that there's a Tootsie Roll at the end of that lollipop? Sizing and measurements. Most countries use the metric system, and ironically, the US still uses the British imperial system, which Britain doesn't even use. If you're only selling to Liberia and Myanmar, they also use the British imperial system, so you're covered there. Otherwise, you've got to adjust. Also, places like Canada and France and the UK all have their own sizing charts. If you're selling clothes and accessories, you should help your customers figure out their right size by using comparative charts. All measurements should be adapted. For example, inches to centimeters, pounds to kilograms, and so on. Now, if you're strapped for funds and time, just pull a chart from a free online source and put it on each of your product description pages. Another simple way to help your customers is to take a photo of a product next to what I call a universal equivalent item. That can be a coin or a can of soda. Data regulations. This is of growing importance as countries struggle to stay ahead of the tech industry, protect their citizens, and assert their sovereignty on their online domain. This impacts parts of your e-commerce site. It could be something as basic as a privacy policy. Europe, for example, has stricter laws than most of the United States for collecting data. If you're already integrating policies for the California Consumer Privacy Act, or CCPA, then you're on the right track for adapting to Europe's General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR standards. This is all about adapting your customer privacy policy. You may need to change how and where you collect and store customer data in different markets. Now, what are we talking about when we say data? Name, address, email address, social media accounts, digital identifiers such as IP addresses or cookie IDs. A lot of this is changing as we move forward, so stay abreast of it and check back with us. Most platforms have tools and information regarding best practices for data collection. Check out our facts, FAQs section for additional information.
Decide what needs to be localized.
Fortunately, you don't have to localize all of your e-commerce website, and you don't have to do it all at once. You could start with a greeting for visitors in the local language with a pop-up or a banner and see how customers engage before making major updates. There are 3 quick ways to A/B test your localization. 1, integrate analytics if you haven't already and see where visitors are dropping off. Is it linked to the language or the shipping rates or a crappy checkout experience? 2, integrate any of the heat mapping plugins to see where visitors are spending most of their time on your site. Imagine that you could put a chip in a shopper walking through your store to see what catches their eye as they're in the middle of shopping. That's pretty much what a heat map is. 3, find ways to ask your overseas customers what their experience has been so far, either via surveys or emails, or just give them 20% off to spend 20 minutes with you to tell you how your website sucks for them. Then start testing out translation and other features like IP address triggered local language welcome mats to reduce friction. If you find that works, you can translate a few product descriptions for the items that you think are going to be popular in that target market. Put them on a unique landing page. And if that's worth continuing, translate that, translate another, then you can start building out the rest of your site. And keep doing it. You should continuously be testing and iterating. Most CEOs I work with haven't bought something on their own site in at least 6 months. So block off 10 minutes a week, buy something from your website. If you can do it from a VPN from another country, even better. Again, this is incremental. Once you decide what needs to be localized, you can move to translation and adaptation. 75% of shoppers won't even consider buying from a site that isn't in their local native language. And 59% said they rarely or never buy products off of an English-only site. Even English phrases aren't universally accepted. Australian customers might not find what they're looking for if the search functionality doesn't recognize regional terms. Font size and spacing may also be an issue. For example, a description in French can be up to 30% longer than in English. And guess what? In Chinese, you're talking about 70% shorter. Have fun with those adjustments. They're going to drive you nuts. Having a strong layout for mobile devices is also key for capturing online shoppers. In Spain, for example, 77% of online shoppers happen to be on mobile phones or tablets. In Asia, it's even more prevalent. What I say is, if your consumer can't purchase an item while holding onto a metro rail with one hand and the phone with their thumb in the other and scanning, just placing that buy button with their thumb, you're losing a huge part of the market. And your translation efforts should also go beyond localizing your website itself. Confirmation emails, packing slips, and receipts can all be modified for international consumers. The good news is, most of the things we're talking about here can be solved with plugins and other services. So take a look at whatever services and solutions are offered by the platform that your website's built on before spending a bundle on translation and adaptation. Recap. Research the market. Remember, open arms. That means figure out what habits and preferences, visual presentations, sizing and measurements, and data regulations will set you up to be welcomed in an overseas market. Think incremental. Decide what needs to be localized. Iterate early and often based on customer feedback. Start the incremental journey towards translation and adaptation with plugins and tools and A/B testing. Have fun, be curious, sell more. We'll see you soon.